This was my very first episode of Really Famous with my very special guest, Tim Gunn. I've done more than 100 episodes of the podcast since then and hundreds of videos for my YouTube channel. But this is a classic. If you haven't heard it, I think you'll like it. Hi, this is Kara. Welcome to Really Famous, where you get to know icons and legends on an intimate level because I was a therapist, so that's how I roll. This is my very first podcast with my very special guest, fashion guru and mentor, Tim Gunn of Project Runway, Making the Cut, and the Parsons School of Design. I chose Tim to be my first guest for a very good reason. I'd met him a couple of years earlier when I was writing a piece about him for the New York Times, and we really hit it off. In fact, it was because of Tim that I decided to start a podcast. So here's a little backstory. So at that first meetup, I probably needed like 20 to 30 minutes to get everything I needed to write the piece. But Tim and I hit it off big time, and we found a lot to talk about, and we ended up spending 3 hours chatting in his living room. I came home, I was ecstatic. I felt so good after the conversation. And I told my husband about it, and he suggested that I start a podcast so I could share these longer, unedited conversations with the world. So I mulled it over for a bit, like a year, maybe a little bit more. And finally, I decided to do it. The first person I reached out to was Tim. He agreed to do the show. And so on a cold day in January 2017, I returned to Tim's apartment and we had yet another spectacular conversation. Now, to be clear, it's a little different from my recent or current podcasts, mostly because at first my plan was to do a daily routine podcast. So I was going to interview famous people and ask them what they did on a typical day. But that quickly morphed into what the show is now because I couldn't possibly stay away from these deeper, meandering, psychological, philosophical conversations. But you'll notice in this one, I keep spinning back to Tim's routine. So that's why. And now a little news. If you haven't already heard, I'm excited to share with you. I'm now an official Amazon influencer, which means Amazon just gave me a special storefront where I share a collection of my favorite things with you, and you can pick them up right through my Amazon page. So I've curated what I love most, from television and movies to fun TV series fan gear, my favorite celebrity books and memoirs, to styles I love and use for my interviews. You'll find all kinds of Tim Gunn goodies, like his books, for example, Tim Gunn's Guide to Style, and a link to his new Amazon series with Heidi Klum, which is called Making the Cut, along with a collection of Tim's top wardrobe pieces called Tim's Closet Staples. You can get it all on my Amazon storefront. Just click the link in today's podcast notes or go to amazon.com/shop/reallyfamous. And click the follow button so you'll stay up to date whenever I add new things. And by the way, anytime you use my link to shop for anything on Amazon, you help support Really Famous. So thank you. Again, it's amazon.com/shop/reallyfamous. So here we go. Tim Gunn and me in his living room in New York City. My first podcast ever.
How are you, Tim?
I'm excellent.
Thank you so much for doing the podcast today.
I'm thrilled. Listen, I'm thrilled just to see you again. I have to say, our New York Times piece, I can't believe it was 2 years ago.
It was.
Because people still bring it up. In fact, they just refer to it as your New York Times piece. And I said, you mean my Sunday routine? And they say, yes. And it's phenomenal. And it's also made me the friend of all the guards at the Met, because they read it or heard about it, and they know how much respect I have for the institution, the fact that I dressed up to go there this morning. Anyway, it was a lovely, wonderful piece, and I'm forever grateful to you for it. I actually have a conference call this afternoon with the showrunner for Runway, her boss, and the network about having this coming season of Runway be plus size. I'd love to do it. And I need your help.
Or do we not say plus size?
What can we call it?
No, I know, and I read about this too, that it's not plus. Isn't there a new size? Not plus.
No, it's still plus size.
Are there certain things that are like, they call curvy? No, that's not a thing. That's a shape.
That may be within a brand, they may. But generally speaking,
what is it?
It's just plus size.
It's still
and
plus
it means
size.
you're 14 or above.
What should it be?
I don't know. I mean, ideally, I think it shouldn't be anything. I think that clothes of every size should coexist in one department within a store. I don't think it should be that you have to go somewhere else to get sizes 14 and up. I think it's despicable. I think it's disgraceful. I mean, all they can do is make more money. So why are they doing this?
So why are they doing this? Do you have a theory?
Well, if there's a correlation between what designers have told me and what retailers haven't, they haven't told me anything. What designers tell me is, I'm not interested in her. I don't, and then when pushed further, they really get their back up and say, I don't want her wearing my clothes. And my response is, if you can help her look great, which you should be able to do, then everybody wins.
Right. Remind me, I feel like it was last Project Runway.
Oh, the winner?
Yeah.
Ashley Tipton with the most hideous clothes in the history of the show.
What was that about?
I'll tell you exactly what it was about. It was about the judges pandering to her because she does plus-size clothes. At one point, during the one time I got to interact with the judges, or the one time I have to interact with them, otherwise I wouldn't at all, I accused them of pandering, and Nina said to me, but, I mean, I just have to say, I so admire her courage. I said, her courage? Yes, her courage. I said, you mean you can't quite believe that she's brave enough to leave her house every morning? And Nina said, yes. So during the final presentation, after the runway finale, when we are back at our set and we have one garment from each designer, it was Kelly, Ashley, Candace, and somebody or other. And Nina is looking at Kelly's garment and she's saying, she said, it's a cheerleader costume. And I was so pissed off. I said, okay, you want a costume? Okay, so Kelly's model's missing a pom-pom. Ashley's model's missing a magic wand. Candace's model is waiting for Halloween. And, it was Edmund. And Edmund's model's waiting for the tango music to start. I mean, said, if you want to talk costumes, they're all costumes. And then Heidi said, this is Heidi's way of shutting me up. Heidi said to me about Ashley's look, well, I'd wear it. And I said, you would not wear it. She said, I would wear it. I said, where? To Disney's version of Comic-Con with your kids? But then, that was before she wore Big Bird to the Emmys. And I called our showrunner and I said, oh my God, when Heidi said she would wear Ashley's dress, she was serious. Anyway. But those clothes were horrible.
They were horrible, and I was surprised, I remember. And then I was thinking, well, they must have intentionally wanted her to win to make a statement.
Everyone else, the producers and I, quite frankly, wanted Kelly to win. And I had a big standoff with the judges about, we need to send a message about how these clothes can be good. These clothes are not good. These bare midriffs, these overscale, frou-frou-y, tutu, ball gown skirts. I mean, so this is ridiculous. Who would wear these clothes? And Ashley may wear them, but for someone who's so shy and retiring and paranoid and fearful of everyone, she walks around like a float in a parade.
All right, so let's get on track.
Okay.
Let's dive in.
Yours. So talk about my new routine. At age 62, I took up fencing.
Fencing?
On guard. It seemed like a really interesting sport, and I need something physical. I never dreamed I was going to become an addict. I have 5 fencing engagements a week. 5. So talk about my new routine.
So when you say engagement, what is that?
Three of them are lessons, and 2 of them are with an Olympic fitness trainer by the name of Scott Weiss, who's really a physical therapist, but he's helping me get stronger. And I mean, I'm 63. Not that that's old, but I've never felt more fit in my entire life, ever.
Really?
I mean, it's phenomenal.
So what is it? Is it cardio? Is it hitting certain muscle groups?
You mean with the fitness training?
With the fencing.
Oh, with the fencing. Oh my God. It is an incredibly daunting workout for the body and for the brain. It's like chess. You don't just flail about, and I fence saber. It's either epee, foil, or saber, and we saber people are snobs. You don't rush the blade at anyone. You keep it in a particular parry point, and they come to you. And if it's positioned properly, they're not going to be able to hit you. I mean, trust me, after 14 months, it's plus a 5-month hiatus for Runway, and that's not going to happen again. I'm not giving up 5 months of this. And I'm just now back to where I was before we started taping. That's not true. I'm a bit better. But it's absolutely... It's riveting. I mean, it is such a high. I feel so on fire. I love every second of it. I know. I mean, it really has changed my life.
That's incredible. So it's what, an hour or something?
Yeah.
And then you come home and you feel good and you're rolled in.
And when you're in a bout, and I've only had 3 bouts, but I will start bouting again soon, your heart's pumping at 180 beats a minute. I mean, you're really, talk about cardio.
That's high.
Yeah.
So it's also mentally challenging, not just physically.
Absolutely, and that frankly is part of what I love so much, because I have a whole history of Alzheimer's in my family. In fact, when my father was my age, he'd already been in a nursing home for 3 years.
Really? From Alzheimer's?
Died at 67. And his mother died a year before I was born in a mental hospital at age 67.
How does that feel?
Well, my sister and I often ask each other whether we should be tested, and my response is, to what end?
Also, I don't think there's a test, is there?
Well, supposedly there are indicators.
Indicators.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm not worried about it now.
You're not.
I have fencing.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Let's go back to the beginning of your day. We're talking about any old day. This doesn't have to be any particular day of the week, and knowing that, of course, every day is not the same.
Yes.
So you're waking up, and what time is it?
It is between 6 and 6:45. If I'm feeling like a slug of bed, it'll be 6:45. I get up, I throw water on my face, I leave the bathroom, go back into the bedroom, and make the bed. Every single day. It's the first thing that I do after just splashing water on myself. And it helps me feel in charge, and I feel that things are orderly. And I mean, I have to tell you, when I go to bed at night, everything is where it should be. The dish is already dried, the dish towel has been folded, because this is going to sound terrible, and I hope it's interpreted as being funny instead. What if I die in my sleep? I want everything to be in order.
You're thinking just in case.
Just in case. I do the same thing when I leave the apartment to go to the grocery store or go for a walk. What if I'm hit by a truck?
Never do you let that slip. You won't go to sleep if there's a mug in the, let's say, or a wine glass in the sink.
I can't do it. I've been hosting Thanksgiving since my mother died, so my niece stays here, and my sister and brother-in-law and nephew stay in a hotel. But it's Thanksgiving's a big mess, and it drives me crazy to think that there's all this stuff around, and there usually is. It's the one night of the year when I don't go to bed with everything all spick and span and tidy. Then I shave and brush my teeth and floss and shower.
you had told me once that you used to do sit-ups in your bed.
Well, now that I'm fencing, I'm not doing those sit-ups anymore.
That was controversial, right? People had some thoughts about that after they heard you talking about it.
And actually, now that I'm working with a fitness trainer, I realize how bad for your back doing sit-ups in bed can actually be.
Okay, so you
it's
stopped.
It's not good. I stopped doing it.
As soon as the trainer said, no good?
Well, actually, I stopped. Well, I began working with the trainer about a month into my fencing lessons because my coach, Tim Morehouse, said, we need to make your body stronger. And it's not going to happen during these lessons. Yes, there'll be some progress, but you really need to strengthen your legs. You need to work on balance and just things need to improve, or you're never going to get anywhere with this. And I have to tell you, I went into a panic. I thought, fitness trainer? I mean, at that point, I'm 62. What? This is crazy. But then when I met Scott, he's such a sweetheart, and he's works with so many athletes at so many, at much higher levels than me. But he's an expert in physical therapy, and in fact, I was with him last evening, and I referred to this as a clavicle. He said, no, that's your scapula. It's not a clavicle.
Is this your clavicle?
Yes.
Okay.
Go to the head of the class.
Okay.
Exactly, that is.
Okay.
So no more sit-ups in bed.
No more sit-ups in bed. So you shower, and then what?
Then I have my huge dilemma of the day. What am I going to wear?
Of course. So you don't think about it until you're out of the shower.
I don't.
And how do you decide what you're going to wear?
Well, I think about what the day will consist of, whether I'm going to leave the apartment and not return until the evening, whether I'm leaving and coming back, and what is the highest level of engagement I'm going to have that day, and how should I be dressed for it. And I will share this with you, even if it's that I don't have anything other than a conference call. I'm going to at least wear a coat and tie. Otherwise, I should just stay in my pajamas and robe, which I'm not resigned to do. Though I will also tell you, now I go to City Diner almost every morning, early, and of course I'm going to get dressed up. I will tell you, one day I came out of City Diner and I was wearing a turtleneck and jeans and a sport coat, and I thought I looked perfectly acceptable. And some gentleman came up to me and he said, I can't believe you're dressed like this. I said, what do you mean? He said, I can't believe you're this dressed down. And he said, I think he even said the words, I'm so disappointed. And I thought, well, gee, look around. I'm the only person who's not wearing sweats.
Right, you probably look incredibly put together.
Well, thank you. I thought I did.
I'm sure, but he probably was just not used to seeing you without a suit pant.
Yeah, I thought I'm going to have to call an ambulance for this guy. He's about to collapse.
That's crazy.
And it's right here in my own neighborhood.
So that was City Diner. So normally, though, you're gonna look at the highest level. So what's going to happen on the day when there's something more than a conference call? What are you putting on?
I'm putting on what you're seeing me in now, a suit.
Can you describe it?
Sure. I'm wearing a chalk stripe suit. The base of the suit is, what would you call this color? Blue. Inky?
Sure, inky
an
blue.
inky blue
I like that.
and a beige chalk stripe and a floral wool tie and a God, my vocabulary is leaving. Gingham. Thank you. Go to the head of the class again.
And of all topics, I get
I love
that
it.
with you, Tim
No,
Gunn.
I'm suddenly tongue-tied. What is it? It's gingham.
It's gingham. A gingham.
Blue and white. Dress shirt.
Dress shirt. Okay, beautiful. Do you hem and haw over what you're
Oh,
wearing?
yes, all the time.
So what goes through your mind?
Well, I am very tactile and visual. So I pull things out of the closet, I'll put them on the bed, I'll look at the options, and play around with shirts and ties and pocket squares.
So you don't have set ensembles.
No.
You keep mixing things up.
I do.
Okay. And so what's one of the meetings where, or something or other, I'm saying meeting, but I don't know, where you would really be tossing and turning about what is appropriate for this occasion?
Well, television probably more than anything else. If I'm going on Jimmy Fallon or Seth Meyers or even if it's Good Morning America, because there's so many unknown factors. What's the host wearing? Or in the case of Good Morning America, all the hosts, and I just figure all I can do is be me.
Right.
So I can't be trying to wear complementary colors or matching colors because I don't know. Though I will tell you something funny about other television appearances, especially scripted television, where I talk to the costume person and they tell me we'll bring X, Y, and Z as options. We don't want to see these other things. For instance, we don't do pattern mixing. Various forms of instruction. So I usually wear to the set what I'm told not to wear because this won't be an option, and I've been in a car in it, and it's wrinkled, and it's not an option. So I have the things that have been prescribed. Invariably, I get to the set, and the costume person or people and the director and the head producer say, "Oh, you look great, but this is what you told me not to wear." "Yeah, but now that we see it, you look great. Wear it." "But I brought what you told me to bring." No,
surprised.
Wear this.
I'm not surprised. You're going to walk in anywhere and you're going to get that treatment. I figure that
I am
reaction.
surprised by it. I still am.
Well, you break all the rules and they work.
Well, but
right?
and they do work for me.
They
I
do.
have to say.
So what show? Like, what would that be?
Well, in the case that's in my head right now was How I Met Your Mother.
How did that come about?
I honestly don't know.
I feel like it must have been NPH felt like he liked your style and your personality. And
Well, Neil probably had something to do with it. I mean, the wonderful thing about my blessed, beautiful, lucky life is I don't chase anything. It's not as though I say to my agent, "Oh, I want to be on How I Met Your Mother." It's just things happen.
They do. People
which
come
is
to
nice.
you.
Yeah, it's lovely.
But it says something about who you are.
Specifically, it was the episode with the poker playing, getting ready for the wedding, and that was the look that I wore, and they said, I mean, it did break all the rules.
So, all right, so you're hemming and hawing, what should I wear? You figure something out, and then what? Do you go out to City Diner at that
I
point?
do.
And you order your usual?
I order my usual, and I read my New York Times on my iPad. I now have a digital subscription. I'm no longer getting the actual paper. And I love that. And of course, right now I'm absorbed in all the same news everyone else is. And there's so much of it. It just doesn't stop. Well, I used to enjoy just going through all the top stories, the opinion page, and then get to the arts and fashion and style. I never get to the arts and fashion and style anymore. I'm still stuck in top stories and opinion. Well, thank God for the opinion pages in the New York Times, because at least it makes me feel as though there's some corroboration for my own feelings about the craziness of all this. But it's just so disturbing that we have a president who's acting like an autocrat and a Congress that's enabling him to act like an autocrat. This has to stop. It just has to stop.
What do you think will happen?
I think there will be an impeachment. I think there has to be an intervention. That we can't sustain this. It can't go on. I mean, this is insane.
Can it sustain itself?
It can't possibly. Well, we as citizens of this great nation can't sustain it. I mean, I can't. I mean, as recently as yesterday morning, I thought, I don't think I'm ever reading the New York Times again. I'm never turning on the television news. I'm just staying away from it. I thought, well, that's irresponsible. We each have a responsibility to know what's going on, but it's just
right. There have
awful.
been times for me where I have like decided to myself, I can't read this stuff anymore because it's upsetting and
And how long does it last? A day?
No, it'll last a little longer, but
Really?
I'll still just kind of graze over everything just so that I don't miss anything important.
Okay.
But then
So you
I'll
read the
start
headlines.
again. I'll read the headlines.
Okay.
I can't skip them entirely.
All right.
have to at
Actually,
least
I
know.
like that. I like your process. But the only thing I will say about all this, both of us feeling so unsettled and so many other people, millions feeling so unsettled, at least we still feel unsettled. I worry about the day when we think, what's the matter?
I feel like I don't see that. I don't see that
Good.
happening. And I know that that's right. Everybody's trying to fight that. Like, this is not normal. This is not okay. We can't let that happen. At least so far, it doesn't seem like that.
Well,
There's a threat of that.
Have I ever shared with you my theory about the monkey house at the zoo?
No.
When we first walk into the monkey house, what do? We shriek, "This place stinks." And after 20 minutes, you think, it doesn't smell so bad. And after 40 minutes, you think, what smell? That anyone new walking into the monkey house shrieks, "This place stinks." I mean, that's my theory about how leggings as pants happened. Truly.
This
It
is more than a
stinks.
smell. It
Oh, yeah.
stinks.
Oh,
but
well,
it's so much more.
we know we won't get used to it. That's why I'm
Right.
glad to wake up every morning and say, this place stinks.
Yeah. And you know, I have a theory about it too. I feel as though no matter what side you're on, what you think about this, I think that he's bringing out the worst in everyone.
I agree. I totally agree.
All right, so let's move off of Trump for a minute and move back to your day. So we were at breakfast, and then you're reading the paper,
Reading the New York
digitally.
Times.
And then what?
Then I will go shop for dinner. I don't eat lunch. If I have it's either breakfast or lunch. I'd rather have breakfast because I just like it better. So I shop for dinner and get things generally at Barzini's, which is right next to City Diner. So I shop every day for dinner. Bring things home, unpack them, put them where they need to be, and that's when I generally, if I'm not going out to some meeting or other engagement, that's when I sit down and look at my email. I don't look at it until after that's behind me. And at this point, because I do get up fairly early, it's probably 9:30. So it's not as though it's late.
Right, that's the beginning of the day for a lot of people
Yeah.
anyway. So you're getting to your email and you're checking. Are you good at email?
No. Well, that's not true. I'm an ostrich. I can bury my head on certain things and not even open them. But I don't delete them. They're just there. And it usually is something that's going to give me some anxiety. And I'm diligent about things that I need to respond to.
Okay, so what are those things that you let just hang out that give you anxiety?
Someone who has my email because I gave it to them, but I really shouldn't have, who wants something, and I'm annoyed with myself that I'm yet to figure out how to say to someone, I'm not going to have time for this.
In an email, so it's not the problem.
Actually in person, before I give them the email address.
Well, Tim, let's get a response for you. Let's figure something out.
What do you think?
Okay, so
Wait till I tell you that I still have Christmas presents that I haven't opened.
you do? From whom?
Lots of people.
Like?
My sister and her family. It's a rather large box.
Tim, this is really interesting, actually. So you haven't opened them since Christmas? Only from your sister and family?
No, some friends too. I don't like gifts. I don't like surprises. I have unopened Christmas presents going back several years.
Has anyone asked you about them?
Yes, in the form of, did you love the such and such? And all I can say is yes. And I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you about it.
Okay.
So these things really warrant thank you notes, but I don't know what to thank them for. I guess I could just say thank you for I can't just say thank you for the gift. Maybe it's something Well, the really scary thing, this hasn't happened in the last few years, but it happened, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. It was something perishable, but I didn't know it, and I put it on top of my refrigerator. This is when I was at London Terrace. I can't put anything on the top of the refrigerator here. And after about, I guess it was spring, early summer, there was this strange odor. Then I realized that this perishable item in this quasi hat box on top of my refrigerator had eaten through the paint on the top of the refrigerator. Oh yes.
That's serious business.
If only I'd opened it, I would have known.
What was it? Do you still not know?
It was some bourbon, booze-laden, fruitcakey thing.
All right, Tim, so where are these gifts? Do you keep them put somewhere?
They're in closets and
That's
all
stressful,
over.
Though, because they're sitting there. It's not like they're not there anymore, so they're giving you a constant reminder.
I'm having a bit of a quasi... it's not quasi. I'm having a passive-aggressive standoff with my sister of sorts. She calls occasionally and asks me to call her back, and I don't. This has been going on since basically since our mother died, which has been quite a number of years. Though I still host Thanksgiving, and she comes. My sister and her family come. What was I going to say?
Well, so you're passive. You're being passive-aggressive.
I've been passive-aggressive about it.
What's going on?
Oh, my point was that as recently as 2 days ago, I considered just rewrapping this box and returning it to her. Then I thought, is that worse than not doing anything? I don't know. I really don't want to know what's inside. If I could snap my fingers and have it go away, I would.
What do you think it may be? What are you afraid of?
Things that will stimulate more guilt in me.
What do you feel guilty about?
Well, you really are good. I was about to say, I believe she hasn't forgiven me. More appropriately, I should say, I haven't forgiven myself for putting most of the burden of my mother, our mother, on her. At the same time, I'm making excuses for myself. She wasn't working. I was. She had the ability to be in Bethany Beach, Delaware, and live there in her house, and I didn't. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, well, that's not true. I could have taken a leave of absence from my job at Liz Claiborne. I guess I could have told the producers of Project Runway, sorry, I'm not available this season. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to put my life on hold. And because she could and did, I didn't feel it was necessary. But then I think she's held resentments towards me. I'll tell you. Now that we're talking about this, I'll get to the core of my anxiety about what's in the box.
Yeah. The mystery contents.
Because since Mother has died, my sister tends to use gift-giving occasions to give a little thing for Mother. Since when Mother's household was split up and we talked about who gets what, I said, you take whatever you want. And if there are things you don't want that I do, I'll tell you. But take whatever you want. And she took a lot, which I feel no resentment towards. It's fine. So she uses these gift-giving opportunities to give me a piece of Mother, in a manner of speaking, and I don't want it, and I don't want the reminder. But it's, in some ways, I think it's for her. It's a kind of dig. I don't know. It's unnerving. And part of it is because, boy, I'm going to reveal all sorts of things. I'm always afraid to go to a place where I get really just furiously angry because I have a terrible temper, and I can just say things that it's almost as though I have no control over it, and I can't believe I'm saying these horrible things, so I don't go there. And I lose my temper like that maybe once every 4 or 5 years.
So that's infrequent.
Oh, yeah.
But it must be a big...
It's big.
Blast.
It's what I say about my general disposition, that I'm extremely, incredibly flexible. And I will bend and bend and bend and bend until I snap.
When's the last time you snapped? Was this with your sister or some other time?
When was the last time I snapped? Oh, I know. It was season 14 of Project Runway. Our designers
Swapno, yeah.
That was the last time. In fact, it shocked everybody. The control room, the designers, the crew on the set, everybody, because they've never seen it. Ever. And even taking his client by the arm and saying, we're leaving.
I remember that
because
moment.
I didn't know how much they'd actually use in the show, but I thought, I've got to get away from him because I'm about to hurl myself onto him and strangle him.
So that's the last time that you really let your anger spill over. So you're afraid that will happen with your sister now?
Well,
or her
I can't
family.
Get angry at her. I mean, she doesn't deserve it. I mean, if anything, I'm angry at me, but what do I do with that? Self-flagellation? I mean, I do enough of it metaphorically. I feel I'm not a good brother. I'm certainly not a good uncle to my nephew. I don't think I'm a particularly good friend. And I feel I mean, reflecting upon it, one of the comments that has been made to me with a good deal of frequency, which I have seriously objected to and pushed back about, is probably in fact, it's probably because it hit a nerve, and it's what has been said is quite true, and it has to do with the fact that I'm single. And people have said, you need a relationship, you need someone in your life who's important, and it's selfish of you not to do this. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know that it's selfish, but I do believe I'm probably a very selfish person.
Who has told you this?
Co-workers, friends, even strangers who've read about the fact that I've been monogamous. So, not monogamous, I've been without for decades. And I mean, on the other hand, and maybe this is the core of my selfishness, I feel perfectly fulfilled. Do I feel as though there's something absent from my life? No. And relationships take time. I don't have any time. Well, I don't have time I want to give up. I mean, that's the selfish part.
Okay. So it's time that you like to have to yourself.
Or for something else, but not for a relationship. Yeah. If it's just
so
time.
What's wrong with that?
Well, personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
So why would you feel bad about it then?
Well, because it goes back to the gifts and the emails that I avoid, and that I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal. When I was still at Parsons, when I was chair of the fashion program, my office had a full bathroom with a tub. And I used to take these gifts, even things that I would receive at my apartment, I'd bring them to the office and I'd put everything in the tub. And once a year, I'd gather the core administration of the Department of Fashion Design together. And this was the idea of my assistant chair, Marcia. Get everyone together, and we'd have gift would put all the gifts in the middle of my desk, and people would just open and take whatever they wanted. But the embarrassing thing was, invariably, there were several unopened gifts from someone in that room.
Oh, that's brutal. Did anybody say anything about
Yes.
it?
I gave this to you, and you haven't opened it? Oh, I'm sorry. Here, let me take it. But you know what maybe it is? It goes back to the relationships. I don't want to have a string attached to anything. And this gift is a string.
What does the string do?
It's connective tissue to another person or people, and I want to cut the connective tissue. I am so lucky to have so much in my life, and I have a lot of stuff on my plate. So I'm very prone to say about invitations to things, including through my agent and my publicist. Movie premieres, red carpet stuff, I only do what I have to do. If I'm making a presentation, if I'm introducing someone, if it's related to my own work, then yes, I'll do it. But otherwise, no, I'm not doing it. I mean, so I love these. I love times when I don't have an obligation. I don't have to do anything. I mean, for me, it's I can walk around this apartment with a smile on my face at those times. I cherish them. I love it.
So you don't feel like then that you are missing out on something when everybody is telling you that you are?
No, I don't feel it at all.
Yeah. So the gifts, when you get one, you think to yourself,
oh God, oh no.
And the email, or before you get the email, somebody says to you, Tim, I'd love for you to, we should do blah, blah together. You say,
tell me more about it.
And you really are thinking to yourself,
go fuck yourself.
You need to find a gentler way to say what you really mean.
Someone found some wonderful business card size greetings for me that say, no. Do you understand no? Just to hand out.
Perfect. You say, let me give you my card.
I still have them. I probably should start using them.
It speaks for yourself.
Yeah, do you have a card? Yes.
But what if, honestly, you were just to take like a direct route? Because you're known for saying in the workroom, can I be direct?
Yes, I am.
So what's wrong with being direct and saying,
because
it sounds wonderful, but to be honest, I'm very limited on time.
It will only take an hour. Don't worry about it. I'll work it around your schedule. I've heard it 10 million different ways. I'll come to you. I'll bring a car. Don't worry about it. Surely you've got an hour, and that's all it'll take, I promise. And it'll be an hour door to door. It's like, oh my God.
I understand and I appreciate that, but still I'm going to have to pass. And I feel just terrible about it.
Oh, no, but you don't understand. This is a really worthy cause, and it'll help us raise so much more money.
Well, at that rate, Tim, you do pull the card out, because if they haven't gotten the hint by then, come on.
Oh, there's a fundraiser for a charitable organization who stalks me at City Diner, and I have already rehearsed the story for her. And since I have rehearsed it, of course, I haven't seen her during the time that I have this whole thing memorized.
But it does seem to me like the direct route is usually the way to go.
Yeah.
And you know that? You practice that? Yeah. In most areas, I think.
I do.
So you bring that over to this part, too. So, for example, your sister, I think I have to tell you, I have a problem with getting gifts. It's been sitting here for a long time. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It's nothing personal. I hope you're not offended if I give it back to you.
I like it. Thank you.
You're owning it?
And I probably will ensure that she won't send a gift again. I like it a lot.
All right.
It's the right thing and the mature thing to do. Yeah, I mean, in terms of my relationship with my sister, it was Mother's death that was a decided turning point. Well, let me take it a step further, having to do with that. Mother died in Lewis, Delaware, in a hospital. And the hospital called me in my office at Liz Claiborne that day to say, your mother's not capable of speaking. She's hooked up to oxygen, but it may benefit her to hear your voice. In terms of this is it, she's going, this was the most definitive call I've ever received. So I got on the phone. And I told her to let it go. In loving way, just, Mother, I love you, and just relax, just let it go. And what I didn't know, but found out from my very angry sister after Mother had passed, was that she was in a car driving, they then lived in Ohio, driving from Ohio to Lewis, Delaware, saying to Mother, calling the nurses station and having them put Mother, hook her up to Mother so Mother could hear her, saying, just hold on, don't let anything happen, hold on until I get there. And I'm on the phone saying, let it go. So my sister went ballistic because, in fact, Mother had gone before she got there.
Well, I think it's time to end the gifts.
Yeah. Your proposal is excellent.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And I think also that you can also end the emails.
Yeah.
You always have to send somebody to the workroom. And you don't like to, Tim, but you do it.
It's Project Runway musical chairs.
But you do it every week.
do it.
Of course, they don't come back and say, but Tim, it's only going to take an hour for me to prove to you that I can...
yes, they do.
What?
It's cut out, but yes,
Seriously?
it happens.
What? You mean when they're being eliminated, they try to reverse it?
They don't do it with me, they do it with the judges.
What do they do?
Well, you should have seen what happened in the workroom, and this wouldn't have happened, and mine's not the worst, but there are moments of sheer desperation.
Oh, so they don't just listen to Heidi say, I'm sorry, you're
passively
out?
go away?
Yeah.
Most of the time, but there are a few.
Okay, so shall we wiggle our way back to your day? Where were we? Email. Right. And so when there's something pressing, you are good about email.
Oh,
you
yeah.
do it. And other things you avoid.
I mean, it goes back to what I said earlier about only wanting to do what I have to do and not what I may want to do or what other people want me to do. So the emails I respond to are from my agent, right away. Agent, publicist, business manager, anyone Project Runway related, with the exception of the designers. I have to say, I can be an ostrich.
So the designers keep in touch with you afterwards?
And I love the fact that they do, but there are a lot of them.
I mean, how many seasons times how many designers?
Yeah, I mean, we have about 200 alumni.
So do you give them all your email?
Yeah. And some are more respectful of my time than others. And I can reach a point where I just turn off completely. It's like, I'm not responding to you. You are an opportunist who only wants what you want, and then I give you what you want, and you don't even acknowledge it. So, bye-bye. So
you just kind of drop them then? You ghost them, as they would say. Somebody from Runway who's emailing you is probably going to be a producer of some
in which case I figure we need to attend to this right away. Right,
and you don't talk to the judges, you don't talk to... Never.
In fact, I stopped following them on Facebook.
Why?
Because I just don't like seeing their preenings. I don't want to see them getting out of a limousine, and I just there's something highfalutin and rather pretentious about it all that bugs the living daylights out of me.
When you say it all, what do you mean?
Well, I don't know whether I've ever publicly talked about this. I just have this antipathy for the judges. I can't stand being in the same room with them. I can't stand it. And when I have to sit with them, for the Runway show, which is a new iteration since season 12, which I just didn't want to do. I mean, I'm in the room anyway, but the producers wanted the audience to know that I'm there, visibly there. Thank God for the guest judge who's between me and the standing judges, because I can talk to that person. But then during the Runway show, this is their opportunity to look at the work because they're making judgments. I'm not, but I'm rapt. I'm staring at it. I'm looking at everything going up and down. They're talking to each other. And I just want to say, get with it, people. And for me, because I already know the clothes, but I don't. I mean, I know the clothes, and I remind the designers of this all the time. I said, when you and I are looking at this work, it's static. It's on a dress form, it's laid out on a cutting table, it's not moving, it's not on a model, and I would love nothing more than to be there for the model fittings, but we can't do that because there's just not time. Because we'd have to have it all on camera, and I'd have to interact, and the models are in and out of there in 30 minutes, and that's not, I mean, my critiques, when there's 16 designers, that's 4.5 or 5 hours.
Woo!
I mean, it's cut down to 5 minutes on the show, but I have a responsibility to these designers. At any rate, where was I going with this?
So you and the judges do not get along. Or you do not, I'm not going to say that, but you don't.
No, I think your statement is absolutely accurate. I think they have as much antipathy towards me as I do towards them. Because I call them out on stuff all the time. Michael Kors left us after season 10. I said, 10 years is enough of a commitment. I need to move on. Thank you for your service. We're going to miss you terribly. And I mean that sincerely. We miss him terribly. Zach Posen comes in. After the Runway show, the models come through the backstage but have to pass by the judges' chairs to exit the auditorium at Parsons when we were still at Parsons. We're not there anymore. And beginning with challenge 1, models are coming through. Zach jumps up and starts examining the clothes. And I screamed from the back of the auditorium, point of order, get away from the models and the clothes, point of order. And he's looking at me and I said, this is a matter of fairness. And this is going to inform your decisions, and it's simply not fair. And he said, well, if I look at all the models, at all the clothes on all the models, then it's fair. I said, no, it's not fair, because the designers don't know this. And because this is not a beat in the show, it's not on camera, but it's informing the decisions. Get away from the clothes. Well, it continued to happen. I continued to be shrill and angry about the whole thing, and was very accusatory of the producers and the network for not stopping it. I mean, why are you pandering to him? This is not fair. And I'm not going to go to the workroom and tell the designers, well, psst, psst, guess what? I can't even whisper in their ears about it, because it may become a talking point that we're not showing, because the cameras have shut down. So there's always a postmortem at the end of every season. So at the end of season 11, Zach's first, there was a postmortem just with me and the showrunner, Sarah. And Sarah brought this up, and she said, now, about that whole model thing with Zach. I said, thank God you're bringing this up. This can't continue. She said, no, actually, we want to formalize it. And she was right. She said, it's not going to go away, so let's work with it. So, but it was decided it couldn't be all the models, so it would be the top 3 and the bottom 3. And I will say, as much as I kicked and screamed about it, the very first challenge at season 12, I was so happy to have it, because the judge, and I think they left this in. The judges would have given the win to the student to the designer I would have failed. And also, I will add, things have been and continue to be very tense between Zach and me. And it began with Zach telling all 16 designers episode 11, or season 11, episode 1, they're all on the runway. He said, I just want you to know something. I believe that everything I've ever heard from a teacher, and then he looks over at me, and I'm way back over there, or a mentor has never been good advice. So the next thing I know, Lifetime is coming to me saying, how would you feel about doing the workroom rounds with Zach? And I said, well, how would you feel about having Zach do the workroom rounds on his own? And they said, what do you mean? I said, if Zach Posen is going to be doing workroom rounds, then is he still a judge? Well, of course. I said, well, that's a conflict as far as I'm concerned. I am not a judge. I'm not making a decision about their fate. I said, I don't even like it when Heidi comes into the workroom for her challenge and gives them feedback and advice, because it can be retribution. You didn't do what I told you to do, therefore you're going. And I said, I can't do that. And I don't do it. So I know he's been discrediting me, and I know that he feels he knows best, and I'll repeat, if you want him to do it, I'm more than happy to walk away from this entire thing. But it's, for me, I said it's all or nothing. Well, and the last time I had a contract renewal, my lawyer put this in the contract, that specifically that he will not ever appear in the workroom where Tim walks. I mean, I have great respect for Zach's point of view as a designer, but I will say this very matter-of-factly. It's not innovative. It's not creative. I mean, he owes his career to Charles James, basically. And I would never, well, I shouldn't say that. I may end up saying it this season to him when he's talking about how, I just don't understand this. I don't see anything creative happening. Well, guess what? When I see your clothes on the red carpet, I don't either.
You have that line prepared.
Well, I do, but it's too childish. It's too immature. I'm not
But that's
gonna use
what you're
it.
thinking.
All the time.
So you don't like Zach as a person?
I can't stand him. He's constantly making these jokes that aren't funny, and then he looks right at the camera and he's smiling, and it's just gross.
So it really changed, it sounds like, when he came on board and Michael left. What about, I know you told me last time we talked you weren't a big fan of Isaac Mizrahi.
Oh, I'll take Zach over Isaac any day. Isaac is Trumpian. He is so filled with ego that he's the Messiah. And we should all be so lucky and privileged just to be in his great presence.
And how about Nina? Do you get along with her? Not so much, right?
Well, I mean, again, no disrespect. It's not my thing. I don't like hearing about her Hamptons weekend and about how we went to such and such, but they couldn't give us the table that we usually have. And I mean, I just thought, do we just go home? I mean, it's that kind of thing.
So you hear her talking like that? Okay, on set or whatever. And Heidi, though?
I mean, I do love Heidi, though in the last 2 years, her fashion taste, publicly, at least on the red carpet, has been so wacky.
Like with the big bird?
Yeah, and I've said several times, she is challenging our credibility as a fashion show by being so ridiculous. And I have even said on Fashion Police, because twice when I've been on Fashion Police, she's received the worst look on the runway. And I have abstained from voting, though, and I've said in both cases, because they were spread out by several months, if Heidi were here, Tim, what do you think? And all that I can say is, if Heidi were here, she would say that she doesn't want to be boring. But I have a message for Heidi Klum, which is the following. There is a huge fashion playing field between being boring and being a float in a parade. Huge. And I would like her to lead us there. But she seems to be more comfortable being a float in a parade.
Oh, interesting. So that's some sort of transformation for her, I guess.
And I don't know.
She's looking for something, trying to do something.
I don't know whether it's middle age setting in.
Maybe, because
I don't know, but it's wacky.
Right. So, and you don't see anybody outside of when you're filming.
No, I mean, and I will add, and full disclosure, I haven't ever invited the judges here, nor have they ever invited me anywhere.
But why don't they like you?
I don't interact with them. I don't play with them. They have these ridiculous, stupid photo op things that they do every episode, where they hop around the runway and it's on video and they post it online. And no, I'm not doing it. If I were a different person with a different disposition, perhaps I would have been asserting myself into the. But I have to say, going back to the very beginning of the show, and. Well, at the very beginning of the show, the first season, I was totally intimidated by the whole thing, so that doesn't count. Let's say by season 3, since I never dreamed we'd have a season 2. By season 3, I just became very, very sensitive to my relationship with the designers and not wanting in any way for them to see me interacting with the judges. Because I could possibly be discredited. Like I'm leaking things, I'm giving them background, because they used to ask for it with some frequency. And I would always say church and state, church and state, church and state.
Right, you have a very clear set of what is okay and what is not okay.
Yeah. And before having to sit with them for the runway show and then presenting the models to them, there was absolutely no reason for me to ever interact with them. I mean, I didn't. I mean, I was fond of saying I would say hello to them when they arrived on the set, and I frequently didn't say goodbye because I was mad. But now that this has been formalized, I mean, the designers are sitting there for the runway show, so they know that I don't even get into my chair. I'm on the set, but I don't even get into my chair until we're going. Because I don't want to have this awkwardness with them.
So everybody sort of accepts it for what it is at this point.
And our assistant director on the set, who's basically the stage manager, and our director in the control room, they both know how I feel about them. So Ryan, who's on the set, will say, "Tim, you can come in now." And as soon as the show is over, because we cut and have this lunch break, the judges all rush each other and blah, 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 and I quickly make my exit because, I mean, aside from just wanting to and not wanting to interact and engage with them, the designers are all sitting there. So I don't want them to ever think that I'm a mole, because I'm not.
So do you get tense thinking about it's time to start filming a new season?
Yes. Yes, I do. Well, I will give you more full disclosure. In anticipation of this conference call this afternoon, I put another agenda item other than plus size onto it, which is having a fourth standing judge, someone else. If for no other reason than my own sanity, and someone who could bring more diversity to this. And I suggested a stylist, and more specifically, I suggested June Ambrose, who would be, I think, fabulous. And I said, I will not take up the issue of guest judges. My own view is we don't need any, but I believe the show and the designers would benefit from a fourth standing judge.
So let's get into your evenings.
Okay. They're really boring. You want to hear about them?
Please.
All right. It begins at about 6:37. I have my Amazon video library. Every single night you're going to think I'm crazy. Well, you're in a good position to render that. I pour a glass of white wine. I watch an episode of Two Fat Ladies, the cooking show. That's from Britain. It's hilarious. And so I'll watch an episode, sipping my wine. Halfway through the episode, though, and they're 29 minutes long with no commercials, I pause it. I make a 100-calorie microwave popcorn Jolly Time thing. It's just the right size. Have that with the rest of my glass of wine. Then I turn off the Two Fat Ladies, put that away. Usually I have pasta put on the pasta. It's boiling away. I'll use just a regular bottled sauce, usually red.
Okay, like?
Ragu. I come over here, I push these stools out of the way.
Near the fireplace?
No, I bring them this way.
Okay.
Yeah. Over there, in what is then a larger space, I lay down a white towel. I bring out a black folding chair, metal folding chair that I keep behind the bathroom door, and I will prepare dinner, get it all ready, put it on a tray that I have on my lap, and I'll sit there and watch television. And I sit in the black metal folding chair because if I sit where either you or I are right now, I'll fall asleep.
It's too comfy.
And I'll just fall asleep, and then I'll have pasta and red sauce all over the upholstery and the rug because it's happened.
So is that why you put a white towel down in case?
Just in case.
Or is it for the bottom of the chair?
It's a little bit of both, but it's more of a just in case. I really do believe in being prepared, just in case.
Okay.
It's like putting everything away before going to bed, just in case.
So your TV is on?
Yes.
And what's on it?
I'm usually watching either HGTV or something I may have DVR'd, which will be The Big Bang Theory or Life in Pieces, which I love.
Hilarious. I love that show.
I do too. I'm crazy about it.
I am not a big sitcom network watcher, but that one stands out for me.
Isn't it great?
It's so funny. Some of them fall a little flat. Well, who's your favorite? Because they split it up into three or four.
That's what I love.
So
and the ergo Life in Pieces.
Yes.
I love Colin Hanks and his wife.
Same.
Yeah.
They are so funny, and both of them.
Yeah.
I think they nail it.
They're just great.
They're just great, and the writing is different.
Yeah. I'm eager for the return of Bates Motel. Like a train wreck. You just can't turn away. It's well done. I love HGTV. I feel it's very therapeutic.
What's your favorite on there?
Love It or List It. But only Love It or List It. Love It or List It 2, I'm not a fan of because I like Hillary and David, who are the hosts of Love It or List It.
And House Hunters, no?
I like House Hunters International.
Of course.
Yeah, it's the voyeur in me. But right. House Hunters proper, I've grown tired of.
I'll only watch International, and only if it's in a place that I feel like being at the moment.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're watching some of that, what's on, you're catching up, and then what?
Then I do the dishes and go to bed. And when I go to bed, I read.
Okay, and there's no grooming routine or anything like that?
Oh, all the grooming happens in the morning. I groom in terms of I brush my teeth, I put on moisturizer.
What moisturizer?
I use Lab Series for Men products.
Okay, and what's your grooming routine in the morning?
Well, the cold washing of the face before making the bed. Then I shave, shower. Get out of the shower, I use an under eye, it's not a concealer, but it's a puffiness reducer, and more Lab Series moisturizer. That part's pretty basic.
Okay.
Because I found products that I really rely upon and know work well for me.
You stick with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting ready for bed then. Are you changing out of your daily clothes?
Oh, the daily clothes go before I turn on the two fat ladies. I am in my pajamas and my robe for that. It happens 6:30 to 7ish. So I'm fixing dinner in pajamas. Yeah. A flannel bottom and a t-shirt top and what's the robe? A cotton robe.
Okay. What is the greatest book that you have read in the last year?
Well, I am totally obsessed now, and it's not knowing that we would have Trump as a president. I became obsessed during the whole campaign with The Fall of Rome. And I've been reading tons of Adrian Goldsworthy's books. Right now I'm reading his biography of Augustus, First Emperor of Rome. Pretty scary because that was the beginning of the end. And I'm rapt because the parallels to society and culture here today are so horrifyingly accurate. It's just beyond. And in some ways, if in fact this is the end of our democracy, and I don't want to sound like such a fatalist, but I'm believing that could be the case, that means that Trump is Julius Caesar, who was Augustus's predecessor, and as we know, was assassinated on the Ides of March. And he started all the groundwork that allowed Augustus to step into this role and declare himself emperor and have the people say, okay. But I'm finding all of this fascinating. But the real catalyst for this interest in ancient Rome was Project Runway Season 13, when we took the designers to Rome. I became so, Italian obsessed, but more specifically Rome obsessed, and just visiting the Colosseum and all the antiquities and the ruins. It was just so inspiring, and I'd been there before, but for some reason, it had been 25 years before, and I was ready to receive. And that was the catalyst. And then to have all of this political stampede happen and so frighteningly correspond to the books.
So what do you think will happen next? You already told me you think there will be an impeachment.
I'm thinking that it will be an impeachment that takes the whole White House out, and that there will be some major intervention of some kind. Where a large part of it is wishful thinking, because I just can't see us going on like this. I mean, it's just the behavior, and not just of Trump, by his whole entourage, including all the cabinet, I won't say all, but most of the top cabinet positions. It just seems to be thumbing its nose at these great institutions and the great institution of the office of the president. And when people say, "Oh, you need to," about me and the words that I speak, "you need to show respect for the president of the United States," well, I believe I probably show more respect for the office than the president himself does. So, I mean, it starts there. And I feel so sick for the Obamas. I mean, they're just spat at every day by his administration. There's that priceless photograph, or excerpt probably from a video, of Mrs. Obama and Mrs. Clinton exchanging eye glances.
That's a classic
It says
moment.
Everything. You know the story behind, so talking about what's in the box, when Melania Trump arrived at the White House the morning of the inauguration.
Yes. I never heard what was in the box.
Well, we don't know.
Oh, we still don't know.
But Mrs. Obama's stink-eye look at the photographer wasn't about what's in the box. Did you hear what it was about?
No.
It was about the following, which says everything. The Trumps arrive in front of the White House in a car. Trump gets out, barges up the stairs, leaves Melania to get out by herself, open the door, close the door, come up many paces behind him, and Mrs. Obama and the then president, are both like, what kind of oafish behavior is this? It's the day of the inauguration. It's the future president and first lady, and he just has absolutely, he appears to want to have zero awareness of the new first lady. And she's just left on her own out there. It was rude and abrasive and oafish, but that's exactly who's in office. Have you ever met Mrs. Obama?
No. You have?
Oh, many times.
Really?
Including sitting with her at lunch. She is just magnificent.
So what was the occasion, or were the occasions?
Oh, same occasion every time. I am part of the nominating committee for the National Design Awards through the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian National Design Museum, and have been for a very long time. And the First Lady is the sponsor of the National Design Awards. So every year, the First Lady hosts a lunch for all the nominees and the winners, because they're known by then. And it's a grand lunch for 150 people in the White House. And during the Bush years, I never wanted to go, so I didn't. And it was always you and a guest. Well, once the Obamas were there, everybody wanted to go. So it was, you can't bring a guest, it's just you, fine. So the first year I went, I was at Mrs. Obama's table, not next to her, but at her table. In fact, we were opposite each other, and tables around. And I was seated next to Mrs. Clough, who was then the wife of, well, she was the wife of who was then the Secretary of the Smithsonian. And we got the first course, and Mrs. Clough, with a Southern accent, turns to me and she says, "It's so small." Mrs. Obama hears us. It's the first official lunch for this event. And she rises and she says to the whole room, "I just want everyone to know, I've just heard a comment about the size of the first course. I just want everyone to know that when we arrived here, we inherited all of the cooking and plate preparation habits of our predecessors." And she said, "I was struck by how much food we were throwing away, and it made me sick." So she said, we have 3 courses for you. I would much rather have you eat everything, leave here, and go get an ice cream cone than send food back.
That's amazing.
It was absolutely amazing. And was there anything left on the plates? No. Did anyone go get an ice cream cone? No. So the following year, she's at the podium greeting everyone, and she says, and how lucky, I'm going to burst into tears, how lucky am I get to sit with Tim Gunn. And sure enough, the seat next to me that was empty was her seat. But get this, the First Lady of the United States leaves the podium, she comes through the room to get to the seat. I'm the only, forget about gender, I'm the only person at the table who rose. The only one. Wouldn't you think everyone would rise? It's the First Lady of the United States. And I extended my hand to shake hers, and she threw her arms around me and gave me a big hug.
Oh. What did it feel like to have her say, "I'm so lucky I get to sit next to Tim Gunn"?
I'm still all aflutter. I mean, I didn't dream she knew who I was.
She did, obviously.
Well, and the last time I was there, which was, a whole other, this is gossip though. But it's not gossip, it's true. The last time I was there was 2 years ago? Or was it 3? 3. I wasn't at her table. I wouldn't expect to be. These things rotate. But as she was leaving, she told everyone, "I'm sorry, I've got to go do a press thing." So we were being served dessert. She comes through the room. She's leaving her table. She comes by mine, and I'm just looking and nodding, and she stops. I stand, of course, and she gives me a huge hug and a kiss. It's the only time she stopped as she went through the whole room. So here's why she stopped hosting the lunch. Do you know Caroline? God, I'm blocking her name.
Who is she?
She's the director of the Cooper Hewitt. She is, I believe, very well-intentioned, but also egomaniacal and self-serving. At this lunch where I got hugged and kissed, Caroline had rearranged the place cards at the First Lady's table. Yes.
Get out of here. Sounds like a family dinner at my Thanksgiving table.
So she arranged it so that she was sitting on one side of the First Lady, and Caroline's mother, who shouldn't have been there at all, was seated on the other side of the First Lady. And I don't know what the conversation was like at the table, but evidently that's what turned Mrs. Obama sour to the whole thing. And she stopped hosting it. So I was happy to be there for the first one and the last one.
Totally. But Tim, did you give her your email address?
No.
You should have. That one you would want to respond to right away. You have some stories. A lot.
I do.
You've really amassed a lot over the years.
I have. And this is just the tip of the iceberg.
I know it is. I have to ask the question that I always like to ask.
Yes.
Which is, who exactly is Tim Gunn?
Well, Tim Gunn would give you the shirt off of his back in a heartbeat under any circumstances. And if Tim Gunn knew that you were paying a surprise visit to him, he'd be the first one to turn off all the lights and stack furniture in front of the door.
Have you done that before?
Close.
What happened?
The person went away.
Were you able to see who the person was?
I knew who the person was, because there's a very small list of people who will simply surprise you. And they're the ones who will tell the doorman, I'm here to surprise him, so don't call. But the doormen know not to do that
They
anymore.
know now.
They do know.
Can you tell me the whole story?
Oh, a kind of a stalker story, where somebody just insinuates herself into your life and wants much more from you than you're ever possibly going to give. And it began with someone purchasing me through a charity for lunch, and then it just accelerated and escalated, and it was not pretty.
So she was really stalking you?
Yeah.
How did you handle that?
Ignored it.
Did you have to get help too?
No.
Okay.
It just eventually went away.
So she continued.
Until the next time.
Oh, jeez, Tim, you have people coming from all over the place. But I bet you never do those charity
I just agreed to one
dates
because of a neighbor who is lovely and wonderful, and he's a counter, and his wife is a doctor, a pediatrician, and they're great. And he asked me for the sake of their temple, and I said yes.
They vet.
But guess what? It's only an hour for coffee.
Okay.
Isn't that a familiar line?
Oh, yeah, I think you were the one.
It's only an hour.
It's only an hour, Tim. You must get recognized too when you're walking around,
No,
right?
I never think anybody knows who I am.
What?
Oh, please. I ride the subway several times a day. I'm on it all the
people
time.
don't recognize you?
Well, if they do, I don't hear anything about it. So I couldn't be happier.
Yes, because I'm thinking, I can imagine people are kind of stalking you. They're emailing you. The designers are calling. Everybody.
No, but that's within the family for the
Okay.
most part. I mean, they're the occasional strays that I give information to.
And I
but
think also,
I'm getting that card.
you should get that card. But I think also people, when they see you on TV, they feel like you get a sense of who you are.
Well, and they're quite right.
Yeah.
That is who I am.
And who doesn't want to know Tim Gunn?
Oh, well, Anna Wintour certainly doesn't, but that's a whole other story.
That's another story for another day.
Yes.
All right, let's go into the speed round.
Oh, all right.
You ready?
I'm all set.
All right. When I wake up in the morning, I feel.
Happy to be alive.
When I go to bed, I feel.
Happy to be alive.
But just in case, my apartment will be ready.
Right.
My best health habit is.
Walking.
Where do you walk?
As many places as I can. I'll only take the subway if it's a pretty far distance. I mean, I'll even walk to Times Square from here.
Okay, so that's a couple miles.
Yeah.
Okay. So you love walking around the city?
I'm crazy about it.
Will you just wander like a flaneur?
Yeah. I mean, but I usually have a destination.
Okay.
Even if it's just to go to Book Culture on 112th Street.
Tim, what do you wear on your feet in the city that can help you walk where you need to go and can get dirty from all the mud puddles?
Well, if you're wearing leather, it's easy to clean. If you're wearing anything that's canvas, it's not. So regular leather shoes.
Do you have a favorite pair?
I never know what a favorite pair of shoes will be until I actually declare them to be favorite, because then I wish I'd bought 2 other pairs, and I didn't. Right now I'm romancing a pair of Bass-Weegan-like Italian loafers.
My number 1 stress buster is...
The television. Actually, that's not true. My number 1 stress buster is a cocktail.
Which kind?
A Manhattan. On the rocks.
I'm absolutely addicted to...
Microwave popcorn.
My favorite store is...
Oh, Suit Supply.
My guiltiest pleasure is...
Microwave popcorn.
Throughout the day, I am constantly thinking about...
A cocktail.
My worst habit is...
A cocktail.
My favorite place in the universe is...
The Metropolitan Museum of Art.
My favorite person in the universe is...
Mrs. Obama.
Something I adore that I'd never wear in front of other people is...
My flannel pajama bottoms. No one has seen them.
My biggest pet peeve is...
Athleisure. Athleisure is a validation for wearing gym clothes. I don't believe in it. You should only wear them when you're working out.
Is it a fad? Will it end?
If anything, I think we're getting sloppier. So I think this is just, I think athleisure is probably the future of fashion.
What do you see that you hate?
Sweatpants, oversized clothing, bare midriffs, which are all part of athleisure, those little exercise bra things. Too much skin. It's just, and I'll repeat, leggings is pants. It's all part of the same thing. When did that happen? A legging is not a pant. It can certainly show, but you don't want the upper part to show. I mean, it's not, and if you've ever walked behind it on a going up a set of subway stairs, it's way too much information.
One thing nobody would believe about me is
that I cherish being alone.
And the last question is, in 5 years, I'd like to be
fencing competitively.
Excellent. Tim, thank you so much.
I feel like we've known each other forever.
Don't you?
Yeah.
And I could sit here, I could hang out with you all day.
That's how I feel. No, but listen, it's an hour of therapy. I'll start paying you. You're superb.
Well, thanks.
You're really good. I mean, I would put our conversation among the top 3 interviews. The others being Terry Gross and Charlie Rose.
Please, I don't know what
there's
to
depth.
Say.
We have time and we can build depth.
I adore Terry Gross.
I do too.
She's so good.
Well, you're Terry Gross.
Well, Tim, thank you. I don't know what to say. And Charlie Rose, of course, too.
And I feel so much better and better positioned to deal with my idiosyncrasies.
That was Tim Gunn, my first podcast ever. Shout outs to all of you who found me through Tim. When this first ran, Tim shared it on his Instagram and Twitter and then reshared it a few weeks later without my prompting. That's Tim. And that's how I found my first really famous listeners. You know who you are, and I love you for trying out the podcast and sharing your feedback and staying with me and sharing it with others and spreading the word about the show and keeping in touch all this time. Pick up Tim's books, his greatest hits TV shows, Project Runway and Making the Cut styles, and my collection of style, television, and product recommendations. And support Really Famous at my new Amazon storefront. Click the link in today's show notes or go to amazon.com/shop/reallyfamous. I'm Kara Mayer Robinson. Thanks for hanging out with me and Tim. Next up, I have freshly recorded talks with guests like Jenna Lyons, the former president of J. Crew, you know, the one with the big black glasses. Also, Lala Anthony, Dylan Efron, and Cesar Millan is back. Please stay tuned. I will talk to you soon.